Helen, and I'm a student in EDM 310 at the University of South Alabama. And this is Erin McDuffie. And so the first question I have is, how much technology did you use in the classroom?
Well, as a teacher, I used it for lesson planning. I used it for daily attendance. I used it for research. I had to use it also for, we had a PLP throughout the year, and some of ours, we had to watch videos, like maybe like in classroom management, and we had to answer questions and stuff like that. So then as a teacher, for the students, we used it for AR, accelerated reader, daily, and then we used it for our morning meetings when we had our calendar. We used it a lot for reading because we would have we used Reading Street, and so we would use it for their vocabulary. A lot of times for their books, everything was pretty much as a whole group. It was easy for the kids to use the smartboard, and it was interactive, and so the kids got to come up and use the smartboard. And we also used it for just research. We used it for STAR testing, for reading MF 3 times a year. And then we used it, if we were reading something, reading a book, and the kids didn't know what a word meant or they didn't know what something was, they would say, let's Google it. And so we would go to the internet and we would Google it. We also took virtual field trips, which was really good, especially because the school I was at, the kids really couldn't afford to go on field trips a lot of times. So virtual field trips, there's tons of free virtual field trips you can go on. So the kids, they really like that. We also, at one point, there was a pen pal from another state, and we communicate just through email, but then there was times where we could sit as a class and you could communicate with them, so they could learn back and forth about different things they were learning about, and they could compare learn with each other.
Okay, so what do you think about the use of technology in the classroom?
Well, I think it's really beneficial, especially this time because the kids are so much more advanced. I mean, they start from babies knowing how to learn how to use the iPads and everything. Like my little girl, she knows how to get on the iPad and flip through it. She knows how to use the phone. So the kids they're learning it very early on, so they have to have something to captivate them and something to interact. But at the same time, I don't think, if the funds, like the funds in Mobile County, I don't really feel are there, because in my classroom we had 3 computers and a teacher laptop, which the kids are not supposed to use the teacher laptop, but the 3 computers were not working, and we were told that if they were so old, they were not going to be fixed, and then the funds weren't there to replace the computer, so our kids really couldn't use the computer. And then we had a mini computer lab, and we had a regular computer lab. The large one was used for the older students, grades 3 through 5, and the mini lab was used for K through 2, which was like little mini notebooks. But like my class is scheduled once a week at the end of the week, or the end of the day. And so when we get in there, the battery power, it just wasn't there. So our kids, by the time they got in there at the end of the day, we would try to go in there, and there might be 3 computers working. Well, when you have 25 kids in a class and only 3 computers working, that's not feasible for them to use the computer. So that just pretty much ended up we go into the lab and say, oh, it's not working, then let's go on back to the classroom. And so if we had the funds to do it, and I think the kids would get a lot, because they really looked forward to being able to get on the computer, to get on AR, to get on Starfall. They could, there was like a lot of things that they could click on, and then they could also learn little stuff that if they had a computer at home and internet access, they could get on it and a computer and do the same stuff at home. So they were learning a lot, and it was also beneficial. Like if I had to, even as far as classroom management, if the parent was at work, I needed to get in touch with them immediately. I could email them, and from home, or if they missed the homework assignment, the kid was absent, I could email them all the links that we were working on, for the week, or for the day, or if a parent needed to get in touch with me about something that, we could email back and forth. I know for the older kids, a lot of times they have, they're getting email addresses, and they can log onto the computers themselves, although it's protected, it's very protected. But you still have to, of course, watch the kids. But then there's also some of those kids that cannot, like as far as the computer, they cannot get on and stuff like that.
Okay, so it seems like you've used a lot of different things, even though you're limited to computers and stuff. So what is some of your favorite things that you've used?
My favorite was the smart board, because the kids could get on it. It was large, and since I was in first grade for 8 years, they loved the interaction. It's large and captivating. You could see it from anywhere in the room. I could put something that instead of me just having to write it, or I could prepare ahead of time, and instead of having to write on the board and erase, write on the board and erase, and the kids could go up there and they could move things around. We did a lot of review with the smart board in any subject. We could play like Jeopardy, where they could ask questions. There was so much you could do with the smart board. So that was like one of my kids' favorite things. And we even had to have a smart board monitor, because they would fight over who wanted to go to the store. So they had to have a smart board monitor who got to turn the smart board on and off, because they don't want you just to do it all the time. They like to be independent, and they knew, like, they could come into the classroom and they knew how to turn the smart board on. They could get things set up, and they really enjoyed it. They could do their AR quizzes if they needed to on the smart board, as a center. We would use the smart board as a center a lot of times. So that was my favorite